One review. Book one was all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is entrepreneur, brand strategies, and the author of the book You're Not Lost, You're Just Starting, and other than Mr. Jon Bowerman.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Welcome, Mr. John. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Absolutely. So I'm Jon Bowerman. Thank you for featuring my personal brand site here. I've been in the world of business and entrepreneurship, mainly through marketing, just for about the past 2 decades. I've seen a whole lot. I've exited a large agency about 3 or 4 years ago. I've sat in some of the most intensive boardrooms, billion-dollar companies, uh, pitched ideas, really seen it all the way from C-suite executives to people just getting started, launching a startup or an app, or people unsatisfied working for large corporations. Any number of scenarios I've been able to have a lot of experience in.
Yes, indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. John. Thank you. And let's talk about your book itself. You're not lost, you're just starting. What it's all about.
The overall message in the book is uh, it's not about getting to this destination. I'm gonna pick on the concept of retirement. I don't believe in retirement. I believe in building a life that you never want to retire from. I went through this very personally myself about 4 years ago when I exited my first company, and that was the goal. That's what I was working towards. I was working towards growing a company and exiting it. And as soon as that happened, I was hit with just an overwhelming sense of uh, depression, loss of identity. Now, what do I do? What does this mean? It's not nearly as great as you think it's going to be. And I really reflected and realized it's about the journey every day. Not It has nothing to do with the destination. And so I've really focused on restarting and refocusing my life to what honors me every day. And this book really came about because I have two teenage kids, and the biggest question that is being asked of them right now is, where are you going to college? And what a monumental question to try and answer. And really, having been an entrepreneur for so many years, I don't feel that that's the best question that should be answered. How about what's going to bring you fulfillment? What's going to bring you happiness? How do you want to serve others? And the reality is that over the next 30, 40 years, the world is going to change immensely, as it always has. And some of the positions that you might think exist today aren't going to exist in the future, and a whole new set of positions and roles and the way to serve people is going to emerge. And I wanted my children to be set up to be able to navigate that life and not seek retirement, not seek this end goal to, once I retire, now I can start living my life. It's no, start living your life now, and approach the world like an entrepreneur. And here's an approachable way that you can do that.
Yes, right now, people, right now. The title is powerful. Reframe. What is about the word loss that is so paralyzing, and how does shifting to just starting immediately open up new possibilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So often when we feel lost, we also feel behind. It's hard to feel lost and not also feel like you've lost time. When in reality, we can't do anything about 2 minutes ago. All we can do is something right now. And so the lost feeling is about acknowledging that, accepting whatever has happened in the past and just focusing on, okay, what can I learn from that? What has gotten me to where I am now? And how do I best use that for what I do next? I love stories like we hear these stories of like the founder of, KFC didn't start that until he was 65 years old. I love those kind of stories where it's you're never behind, you're never lost. It's now is the right time.
Yes. Right now, people, and stop procrastinating. Do it. Just do it. And your book suggests that possibility is available for anything. How do you help someone who feels truly stuck in their career, a relationship, or their personal growth to believe that it applies to them?
Yeah, I found, and I went through this myself, which was, at when you're 5 years old, like the 5 year old little boy that I was, didn't have ambitions of becoming a chief technology officer or chief marketing officer or anything like that. It was about creating art that made people happy. And the more that I look back and think about who I was at such a very young age and look towards redirecting my life towards what really made me excited, the more satisfaction and more fulfillment that I find. Um, and really, the book is a lot about taking back that control in your life. I think, one of the biggest messages in it, and a misconception that I hear, is that people feel in order to be an entrepreneur, I have to start a business. And I think that couldn't be any further from the truth. And showing up like an entrepreneur means that, so Daniel, for Daniel is the CEO of the Daniel Lucas Company, which means even if you work for another company, even if you're employed by someone else, you still represent yourself in this world. And I've always looked at employers as just really big clients, right? Which means that if I have a really big client, I'm going to negotiate. I'm going to ask for what I need. I'm going to learn from things. I'm going to really focus on what can I best contribute, and thinking about that. Anything is possible in that scenario when you're focusing not on the past, but just what comes next.
Yes, what comes next? It's up to you, people. So, what is the most common limiting story you hear from people who feels lost, and what is your direct, compassionate challenge to that narrative?
Yeah, the biggest limiting story is that you have to come up with an idea.
Mm,
I think that's one of the hardest things for people to get started. Is it's almost like waiting for this idea, like it's you're waiting for winning lottery ticket numbers, as if they're just going to show up in the mail one day, or this idea is just going to hit you. You're going to wake up and have it. And one, that's never happened to me, and I'm not sure that I know someone that has happened to. Um, in realistically, what happens is that if you can get around, I don't have to come up with an idea. All I have to do is listen. Um, and I'll give you a very practical example. Let's say you work at, let's say you have a manager.
okay.
Listen, people do a really good job of complaining about the problems or what is the pains that they're experiencing in their life. Listen to your manager. Listen to the things that they are continually bringing up that are causing them issues. And if you can start to think about how might maybe I can't solve it, but I can make it better. And that the same goes with ideas. I listen to, so we had Thanksgiving dinner yesterday, and I'm listening to 4 or 5 people complaining about the same thing. Well, I'm going to keep my ears open to that. As
Mhm.
soon as I get to maybe 25, 30 people that I hear all complaining about the same thing, I'm going to think, well, what if I could make that a little bit easier for them? Now I start to have an idea. And it's really it's about, and also, by the way, in business, you also have a market, which is very important. And I think that's the biggest limiting belief that I hear is that, well, I don't know what I would do. I don't have an idea. And you'd be amazed. I would bet that within 30 days, if you listened for people expressing their problems, ideas would start to emerge.
Yes, definitely. Emerge for sure. How does embracing just a starting mindset change our relationship with failure and imperfection?
Yes. So the day is about half over for me here. I'm probably going to fail about 20 more times before this day is out. And I'm going to fail 100 times tomorrow. And all of those failures come on the back of me failing a million times before. But when you're just starting, the mindset is that I don't look at those as failures. Anything, now I've had a lot that hasn't worked out, and there's going to be a lot that's not going to work out. But every time that happens, I'm not looking at it as who's to blame. Is that me? It's about, okay, what did I learn? What can I take from this? Because every experience better prepares you for the next one, which is also gets to you're not behind because you had to live through everything you lived through to get the wisdom to be able to be in the position that you are today. So failure is just a building block to get to the next phase. If you look at everything that sets you back as what could I learn from that? What would I do differently next time? We're always just starting. Every morning that I wake up, I'm just starting. Today has yet to be lived. I'm just starting today. And that's how I look at each and every day.
Interesting, Mr. John, and on how to a practical steps. Can you walk us through the fundamental framework or first steps of your method? If someone accept they are just starting, what is the very first thing they should do?
So I've created something. If you go to notloststarting.com, I created a framework. It's completely free, called the Everyday Entrepreneur Action Guide. So what I wanted to do was take some of the lessons that are in the book and turn that into a framework that you could start applying in a very small way to make a big impact over time. And some of that is what I talked about just listening. Is just listen to you can just start writing that down. And I think the biggest smallest move that you could make right away is the concept of not being afraid to ask. So many people limit. We are there's an expression which is 99% of what we're afraid of never happens, and 100% of what we never ask for, we we don't receive. And I'll tell you just a quick story. Is I had a friend who's an engineer was thinking about leaving the place that he worked at because he wasn't being compensated enough. And instead of asking for the compensation number that made sense, that because he actually really enjoyed the work, he enjoyed being there, but the compensation wasn't there. Instead of just asking, he decided I'm going to leave. And I proposed the question, which was, well, why not ask? What if they would have given you the number? Oh, they never would have done that. But you don't know. Imagine if they said yes. If you ask and they say yes, you're going to be in a great position. And if they say no, does it change anything? You've gained in both scenarios. If they say yes, you got the number that you wanted. If they say no, you gained the clarity that and the certainty that they weren't willing to do that. So if you do move on, at least you have that inner peace with, and you're not living with a what if. What if they would have said yes? And I think that is one of the smallest ways people can start to apply this in their life is just ask. There's such a big fear of actually getting the answer that in most cases you can ask without any status quo changing.
Yes, indeed. And Mr. John, the feeling of overwhelming is a part of feeling lost, is not knowing what you want. What is the key exercise from the book to help people discover what they genuinely want to start?
One of my favorite expressions is "How do you eat an elephant?" and it's one bite at a time. That's the only way to do it. There is a framework that I talk about, which is steps, goals, and missions. And a lot of times we look at uh, changing in our life as this giant leap. We have to make this, especially with entrepreneurs. I know so many people that, well, I'm going to quit my position and I'm going to invest my life savings into starting this thing. I say, oh, so let's slow down. Let's go as small as you can. Just write one change that you want to make in your life on a piece of paper, and then think about what is the smallest next step that I could possibly take to get there. And that next step might just be doing an internet search for more information. It might just be writing down 10 next steps and eliminating down to one. But I find that that is the best way to get started is really just thinking about what is the smallest possible thing that I could do. Maybe it's sharing the idea with a friend or a family member, or just sharing that I'm not satisfied. What do you think? Anything to get moving will help you because it just opens up the door to build upon.
Open the door of possibilities. People, who knows, you will be the next founder of, well, just like KFC. And Mr. John, many people feel they are too old or to start over. How do you address the belief that it's too late to make a significant change?
I think it's never too late to make a significant change, right? And there's one certainty in this world is that none of us are getting younger. Um, and so, when you're building a life that you never want to retire from, you might be making a change until the day before it's your last. Um, and that is, with age comes wisdom, right? So it just means that any path that you're going to take, you'll have been better prepared for. So I don't believe that there's any age at which you're too old to shift. If it gets you more in line with what brings you happiness and joy every day, then you're never. Then age really doesn't have anything to do with it. In fact, the concept of retirement can be really detrimental. That's typically when most people find that they age the fastest is right after retirement.
Yeah, so Mr. John, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
My long term goal is this is partly the curriculum that I am setting my sights on one day teaching within schools. That is a ambition of mine. I'd love to become a teacher one day. In the short term, if I can alleviate some of the anxiety for teenagers that are about to graduate from high school and go on to potentially college or a career or become artists themselves or do any different number of things, is that they don't feel like they have to make one decision for the rest of their life. That life is about you're going to make a million decisions, and it's about how you approach those decisions. And if in the short term I can get that to teenagers, and I can get that to anyone who is unsatisfied with how they're having to show up every day right now, and get that a little bit more oriented towards something that serves them. That's really my short term goal.
Good luck to your long term and short term goals, Mr. John, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Yeah. Uh, One is that I still wake up every day. I'm a sand sculptor, competitive sand sculptor, and every time, shortly before I start to make a new sand sculpture, I have so much doubt that enters my mind of, do you really know what you're doing, John? Are you going to actually be able to do something that's worthwhile? And then as soon as I can get over that self doubt and start going into it, I'm always excited about what happens there. So just know that no matter who you see in the world, I think a lot of times we look at, typically all we see, especially on social media or anything like that, is the best parts of what's going on in someone's life. Um, Everyone is struggling with something. And even when you look at someone, you say, "Wow, they have it all figured out." The reality is they don't. No one has it all figured out. We all go through self doubt. We're all struggling. We're all just trying to show up a little bit better than we have before. So you're not alone in that. I think the feeling of lost and behind can often feel a lot like loneliness, and that is one thing that we all share, is that we're all struggling. Um, and so, this is I would say that just showing up, knowing that you're not alone, and you're always going to hold yourself more accountable than anyone else is, and start small.
Yes, baby steps. Baby steps. And thank you for that advice, Mr. John. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence you, Johnny?
Absolutely. Of course, this is one of the big ones, but Simon Sinek, Start with Why. Uh, big fan of that book. I reference it in my book. That was very instrumental and influential to me. Another book is by MJ DeMarco, which is The Fast Lane Millionaire. Really helped shape the way that I think differently. Those are two of the prominent books for me. And then there's also a few books by someone I really look up to in the entrepreneur world. His name is Josh Linkner, and I'd highly encourage checking out anything by that author as well.
Thank you for the recommended books, Mr. John. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you had to distill the entire message of your book down to one single piece of advice, what would it be?
Outside of that, you're not lost, you're just starting. That one
Mm-hmm.
single piece of advice would be, you're not behind, you're right on time. And
Interesting.
anything is possible when you start to believe in yourself and start to just write down your next steps in the simplest way. And even if that next step ends up not being the right next step, it was a next step. And a next step leads to another. And that is how things get done, is by taking a step.
Yeah, step by step. And Mr. John, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters, and my music 101, science 101 and Movie 101 is in fourth season, and Science 101, Sex 101 in its second season, and My Baby Podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Versus 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, finally, what is the most profound transformation you have witnessed in someone who embraced the idea they were not lost, but were just starting?
Uh, I was able to witness someone that was holding themselves back because they were told at a very young age not to make too much noise,
Mm,
not to you're shining too bright. So they felt that they had to show up and limit the way that they showed up in the world because they didn't want to shine too bright. They didn't want to make too much noise. But as a child, they were exuberant. That is what they did. They sang, they danced. They were one of the brightest people in the room. And going through after reading the book is that they can honor that and they don't need to be worried about showing up to the world too bright and shining too bright. In fact, that's what the people around them want. And they were able to get over such a small, influential thing that they heard at such a young age.
and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge
Thank you, Dave.
and wisdom to the world, Mr. John. And can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, get that website is notloststarting.com, which is the best place to go. You want to grab a copy of the book, the free Everyday Entrepreneur Action Guide. It's also my personal website, so get some exposure to some of the other projects and maybe take a look at the ongoing cartoons that I create every month. So I appreciate the time today, Dave.
Ongoing cartoons. Yes, people, let's support Mr. John Bowerman because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come and best selling too.
That's right.
Congratulations, Mr. John.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work and let's empower people all over the world through your knowledge and wisdom. And again, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Welcome, people. See you soon.